Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It has been a long time since I have stood on the bema and gotten to say that to you, so I'm going to say it again. Shabbat Shalom. But for good reason I have missed you, because one of the weekends I was celebrating Shabbat with our confirmation class in Washington, D.C. They spoke in the halls of Congress to our staff members, of our representatives and senators, so we should be very proud of them. I want to set the scene for you of our Torah portion this week before we begin our services. We are in Exodus. It is after the Ten Commandments, and Moses has turned the people's attention to the construction of the tabernacle and the implementation of the priesthood and the sacrificial system. In this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, there is an entire chapter dedicated to the making and donning of the priestly garments. An entire chapter about the details of these garments, particularly the high priest, from their linen undergarments all the way to their breastplate with rows of precious gemstones. Of course, the commentators have a lot to say about these chapters, and some of them assign meaning to every single stitch and every piece of fabric, while others ask larger questions about the significance of our outward appearances at all. So throughout our service this evening, I'm going to introduce some of these differing opinions, and I invite you to ponder along with me the significance of our clothing and how we appear. But in order to do that, we need to be able to know who's around us. So I want to invite you to turn to the people around you to wish them Shabbat Shalom. If you don't know each other, please introduce yourselves. All right, I love the cheerful greetings and chatter. We're going to just wish Shabbat Shalom to the people who are joining us online. So we're just going to wave to our cameras, Shabbat Shalom. We're glad you are with us too. And now that we've greeted all of them, we are going to bring in Shabbat with the lighting of candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol amim ve'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Chaim.
Part of the magic of coming together in community is to be able to celebrate with one another and to learn what's going on in each other's lives. So it's our custom to ask people to share with us something good that's happened in your life, either since last Shabbat or since you were last with us for Shabbat. So if you have something good that's happened to you, small or big, we hope that you will raise your hand and let us know what it is. Yeah. Go ahead. Naomi. Happy birthday. We're glad we get to celebrate with you. Happy birthday. Wonderful. A safe trip to see family in London. Eli. 100 on your science test. Nicely done. Accepted to college at UNC Charlotte. Congratulations. Yes. Beautiful. And very nice pictures, I might add online. Anybody else? Something good that's happened to you? All right, we're going to take all of those things and any things you've been thinking about but didn't want to share. And we offer a Shechianu, thanking God for enabling us to reach this moment and be able to celebrate together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, sheheanu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. We now welcome in the Sabbath bride with the singing of Lecha Dodi.
Lecha dodi, likrat hana, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat hana, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Shamor v'zachor, v'dibur echad.
join together in praise of creation. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach sha'arim, uvitvunei meshanei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, v'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha vedibarta bam veshivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech shochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru ba'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim
Liyot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the service, we are in a part of the Torah that focuses on the building of the tabernacle and the assembly of the priestly garments. And when we read the extensive list of materials that's needed for them, it raises the question, where did these former slaves wandering around in the desert get all these materials? The gold and the silver, the furs, the skins, the woven cloth of blue, purple, and crimson. Did they anticipate a need to honor God with such beautiful spaces and garments? When we sing Mi Chamocha, I often encourage people to imagine the Israelites crossing the sea. And when I say that, I don't often picture them with luggage. But tonight, knowing that our Torah portion is demanding them to assemble all of these garments and materials, it's hard to picture them crossing without imagining them laden down with carts and with bags. So as we sing Mi Chamocha tonight, I want to invite you to imagine that just before they started singing and dancing, they paused to set down their heavy loads, and then they came together to sing and dance.
Yalla la la, yalla la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha tehedar b'kodesh, Torah tehilot osei pele, Torah tehilot osei pele. Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Yalla la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la.
And after they'd picked back up their heavy bags, spending that first night out in the desert, they needed a little protection. We offer Hashkivenu each night, asking God to spread over us a shelter of peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Hamidenu spread the shelter of your peace over us. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
The Amidah, this next section of our service, is often compared to visiting the court of a king. At the height of our worship service, we are meant to come before God with our most sincere prayers. And in the traditional choreography associated with this section, people will take 3 steps back and then forward at the beginning and at the end, symbolizing a respectful approach into God's chamber. We begin and end this set of prayers with lines hoping that our prayers will be both sincere and accepted. In the Torah portion, our ancient ancestors were carrying out this same scene, but in a more literal way. They'd set up the tabernacle with an outer and inner court with layers of curtains, and fewer people had permission to pass through each layer, with only the high priest allowed to enter the Holy of Holies 1 time a year. And as part of these rituals, this portion adds the garments. But what is their purpose? Are the garments worn to impress those who saw the priests, to elevate their role in the eyes of the people? Or were the garments meant to impress God, dressing up to show honor to God? Or a third possibility, do the garments transform the wearer themselves? Do the garments help to shape the mindset of the person who puts them on? So as I invite you to rise for the Amidah now and we stand before God, I invite you to consider the role that clothing plays in your life. How does your clothing express your intentions? How does your clothing prepare you to be in the world?
My mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el hagadol hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, gomel chasadim tovim, ve'konei hakol, ve'zocher chastei avot ve'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei b'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava, melech hozer u'moshia u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol, ata rav lehoshia, mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, meshachalkel chayim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, Kayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha ba'al gevurot umido melach melech memit umchayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai la'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We take a few moments now to complete the Amidah, this section of our service, with time for our own silent prayer, sharing with God the words in our hearts.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Much better? Okay. So, the Malbim, a commentator, says that in reality, the priestly garments just symbolized the inner vestments. That the priests were being told by wearing these outer garments to invest themselves with noble qualities, which he calls the vestments of the soul, so that their inner selves could be clothed in majesty and splendor. His comment reminded me of a classic Jewish folktale that I wanted to share with you this evening. In this tale, the most unlikely people become friends. There is a tailor in town, in the village, who is poor, barely can scrape together enough to get by, but he is really a skilled tailor, and people start to realize, and it gets to the prince. The prince orders clothes from him and is so curious about his methods that he starts to stop by and chat with the tailor while he sews. They become friends. And when the tailor and his wife have their first child, the prince sends him a luxurious piece of cloth as a gift and tells them to put it away for when the baby is grown and to make him something and tell him that it is a gift from the prince. They put the gift away, and time passes. The prince becomes the king. He stops having time to visit the tailor, and the tailor and his wife are busy with their business and raising their son, and they forget all about the beautiful cloth. But then a day comes when a beautiful invitation arrives at the door, inviting them to celebrate the king's birthday. The tailor cannot believe the beauty of this invitation and is so excited to go. But his wife is a little nervous. What are we going to wear? We can sew these beautiful clothes, but we can't afford the cloth to make something to wear ourselves. We can't go. And the tailor insists if we got this invitation, the king wants us to be there. He remembers us. He remembers our friendship. We have to go. Unfortunately, her worst fears are realized because when the couple and their son arrive at the gates of the castle, the guards turn them away, refusing to believe that such commoners would have been invited to the king's party, assuming that they've stolen the invitation from somewhere. Ashamed, they return home. But that night, they remember the beautiful cloth, and they stay up all night, making the cloth into a beautiful cloak. And the next day, as the party continues, they make their son don the cloak and tell him to go to the party. The son doesn't want to go. He was there the night before when they were rudely turned away. But his parents insist, and he goes up to the castle. He approaches a little tentatively, assuming that they're going to remember that they don't think he's invited, that they've kicked him out. But they see him in his beautiful cloak and usher him in. People invite him to sit at a beautiful long table. They're plying him with drinks and with food. And instead of being happy and enjoying these moments, he starts to get angrier and angrier and angrier. And finally, he takes off his cloak and he holds it out in front of him and he speaks loudly to the cloak. "Will you dance with me?" And he dances around the room with the cloak. People start to stare, but they go back to what they're doing. But then they hear him offer, "Would you like a drink?" And he pours the wine onto the cloak. "Would you like to eat?" And he starts to stuff chicken and vegetables into the cloak. At this point, people are muttering and wondering what he's doing and seeing the mess that's formed. And the king comes over and is furious that his party has been interrupted. But then the son explains. He reminds him of who his parents are and explains that the night before they'd shown up and been rejected. But tonight he was ushered in, and the only difference was the cloak. So he was dancing with the cloak and feeding the cloak because clearly the cloak was the honored guest and not him. This is a classic Jewish folktale with a happy ending, so the king, of course, is mortified, invites the tailor and his wife, apologizes, and the son becomes his trusted right-hand man. So there's a clear message of this story, right? It shouldn't be the outside that we're judged on. It's about our inside character. But this seems to contrast with our Torah portion's emphasis on exactly what we should wear and the richness of what we should stand before God in. But I actually think these two sides capture a tension that we continue to experience and wrestle with in society today. We teach that we shouldn't judge a person by what they look like or wear. We should judge them by their actions and their soul. But at the same time, we know that clothing can communicate a message to the people around us about who we are and what we do and what we value. We know that clothing can communicate a message to ourselves and help us prepare for what we're doing. So it's about finding that balance, I think, giving attention to both the inner and the outer. And when meeting new people, getting to know both the outer and the inner before we form our opinions. But in the end, I want to take us back to that commentator, Malbim, that what we should prioritize are those inner garments so that our inner selves, and not just our outer selves, are clothed in majesty and splendor. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to our concluding prayers with Aleinu, page 586. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים Kadosh Baruch Hu V'ne'emar V'haya Adonai Lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad.
You may be seated. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled. It burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see. In light we are seen. The flames dance, and our life burns down in gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair. For we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. As we read our Shloshim list, those who were lost to us in the last 30 days, and the yahrzeit list, those lost at this time in seasons past, if you are here marking someone's anniversary of their death or someone you've lost recently, I invite you to rise. In the period of Shloshim, we remember Rabbi Blitz, Toby Bluma Contento, Mara Ria DeFino, Sherry Ann Johnson Kelly, Leonard Kaplan, Michael Edward Krieger, Dale Rochelle Lederer, IDF Staff Sergeant Maoz Moshe Morrill, Mark Rothman, Warren Sinsheimer. And we mark the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of William Adams, Ellen Myers Edelman, Arlene Albin, Max Ahrens, Yetta Behar, Diane Beitcher, Marilyn Burkhelheimer Benson, Peter Blacker, Rita Myers Blyman, Shirley Califf, Ruth Cassell, Israel Chesler, Miriam Clayman, Harold Dresner, Baron Elam, Joseph Ellenson, Marty Faberman, Dexter Gainsborough, Gloria Madow Glazer, Edward Sayre Goldstein, Raphael Goldstein, Sandra Greenberg, Meryl Jacobson, Julia Kahn, Dorothy Kaplan, B. Carton, Patrick Kennel Sr., Rebecca Lavitan, Saul Levine, Marshall Lindner, Fred Long, Herman Makikote, Gerald M. Menaker, Ada Miller, Ralpha Mitchell, Herbert Mooney, Miriam Nachman, Harry A. Norman, Bob Oxner, Fred Olinger, Larry Patlin, Ruth Pat, Cecile Mayer Pearlstein, Cabell Philpott, Elise Pinto, Marlene Rosenbaum, Benjamin Harold Rosker, Mark L. Rothman, Gussie Rovman, Julian Robert Sally, Nathan Schwartz, Gary Schwartzbach, Clara Shaw, Joe S. Tobias, Billy Booth Tully, Marjorie Stegelmeyer Wetzka, and Nellie Zimba. If you are remembering someone this Shabbat, I invite you to share their name out loud with our community. Zichronam Livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. We rise as one community in solidarity with those who mourn to recite Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya. V'yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen.
You may be seated. A couple of announcements to share. We have a lot going on in the next few weeks. Tomorrow morning, our Torah study will be led by Israeli artist in residence Rabbi Greengrass, who the Federation has brought in, and we have the pleasure of getting to study with him tomorrow morning. You can also look on Federation's websites for other things he's doing this weekend, including a performance tomorrow evening. On Sunday, March 3rd, there is a Brotherhood Sunday brunch. Where is our economy headed? With veteran economic expert Mark Wittner. He has lots to share. He's the chief economist of Piedmont Crescent Capital. So please join Brotherhood. You can sign up. It is open to all TBE members and includes a terrific breakfast. On Wednesday, March 6th, Temple Bethel is screening Plan C. The Girls Just Want to Have Choices Tribe and the TBE Social Justice and Action Committee are hosting this screening of the 2023 Sundance and SXSW official selection. It captures the Plan C campaign and the work of activists and providers who began to mail abortion pills across the U.S. during the pandemic. More information will be soon available on our calendar. Friday, March 8th and Saturday, March 9th is our Israel Scholar in Residence. We are thrilled to be welcoming Rabbi Ayala Ronan Samuels. She is the chief rabbi of the Reform Movement. She's the head of their gathering of Reform rabbis in Israel. And she's going to be doing 3 different presentations over the course of the weekend. On Friday evening, her talk is called The Strengths and Challenges of Ahavat Medinat Yisrael, Love for the State of Israel. She's going to be exploring some of the things that have been happening in Israel recently from a lens of reasons why she loves Israel and reasons why it is sometimes difficult to love Israel. So it promises to be a really interesting evening and weekend with her. We hope you will join us for these things and many more. We turn to our closing song.
Please join me in singing Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. 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 I will build this world from love, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. And you must build this world from love, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai. And if we build this world from love, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai, then God will build this world from love, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.